When last did you meditate? So guys, I found this really cool questionnaire on Instagram, which I feel everyone should attempt. It's really awesome questions. Here are some questions you should ask yourself before 2021 ends. But I think the greatest tragedy in life is fitting in when you were born to stand out. This is my little best kept secrets. It's a lovely place in my neighborhood. What's something that's not going to change in 2022? Me being the flyest human being in the entire world. That's not going to change, okay? This is one of the coolest pieces I have in my closet. It's a jacket that turns into a school bag. It's pretty cool. And as you all know, the year is gradually coming to an end, and people do different things to prepare themselves for the new year. And one thing I like to do is reflect, have some serious, major reflecting moments where I say to myself and ask myself certain questions like, did I accomplish my goals? And if I didn't, why didn't I accomplish my goals, the goals that I set for myself? What wouldn't I be taking with me into the new year? Be that friendships, connections, business, and personal alike. When last did you meditate? In 2022, we need to learn to meditate and make it a daily habit or routine. Here are some questions you should ask yourself before 2021 ends. In the year 2021, I've definitely learned a lot about myself. Granted, it was a year that was very different from 2020. 2020 was almost like the year of a disaster, and 2021 was all about everyone, for the most part, trying to recover from the disaster that was 2020. But even 2020, as much as it was a disaster for a lot of us, it also had its unique blessings. I learned so much about myself in 2020. 2020 exposed a lot about myself to me. And in 2021 was majorly all about me healing and practicing how to establish more firm boundaries with family, friends, and loved ones, which will then in turn have an effect in how I relate with strangers. But I think the essential thing is to always establish boundaries with yourself first, and by establishing concrete boundaries with yourself, then there is an extension with other people you deal with, including your family, including your parents, including your children. What did 2021 teach me about myself? One thing that 2021 exposed to me is that I sometimes still struggle with the idea of being a person that was obviously born to stand out, okay? I've always struggled with this my entire life. I've always struggled with the idea of being accepted into certain groups or organizations or communities, but the older I get, the more I acknowledge that fighting my light, me fighting the idea that I was born to stand out, is me basically fighting my own purpose, because God didn't create me to blend in with everyone else, evidently. I've been born to stand out, and I have to learn to be comfortable with that. When you stand out, when you're different, when you're a pure soul, when you shine, when you're the type of person that has presence, when you walk into a room and everyone's head tilts to you, even if you're not, wearing the greatest outfits in the world or whatever, when you have this thing about you, which some people like to call an oomph, sometimes you may struggle with the idea of not fitting in. But I think the greatest tragedy in life is fitting in when you were born to stand out. So 2021 has forced me to acknowledge the fact that I wasn't born to fit in, I was born to stand out. And it's okay to not fit into certain groups and organizations or communities. I've just accepted that not everyone is for me, and I am not for everyone. I mean, look at me. How can I be for everyone, Look at me. Yes, 2021 taught me that I need to uphold stronger boundaries and be fine with that. There's no point implementing boundaries and then feeling bad about it. Because here's the thing about takers and users, for example. People don't value you when you are a pushover. People don't value you when they know that you badly desire their acceptance. People hate it when you know your worth, when you know what you bring to the table, and when you don't tolerate garbage, right? They respect you for it when you know your worth and when you're good at upholding firm boundaries. They don't like it because they can't use you, but they respect you for it. And in the same way, people love to take from givers, and they especially love to take from givers that have a problem saying no. Doesn't mean they respect you, no. To be honest, most people who are users, they find the people that, allow them to take advantage of them. They don't respect people like that. Users don't respect people that they use. They enjoy the benefits of what they get from you, but they don't ultimately respect you. Because why? You're not upholding boundaries, Users know that they are users, and they know that they will not give you half of what you give to them. So it's important to set boundaries. Who showed up for me, and how can I nurture these relationships? A lot of people showed up for me in 2021 through support for my business, by being honest with me when they thought I was not being the best version of myself, by challenging me to do better, to pray harder, to fast. My family always shows up for me, so that's a given, like I show up for them. But I definitely had friends prove themselves to me this year in ways that I could not have predicted. I'm very thankful for all the connections in my life. Evidently, I've had to drop some people this year, because I acknowledge that at the end of the day, one strong lesson I learned this year is that it's not about how long you've known a person. You shouldn't judge the quality of a friendship based on the amount of years you've known a person, because that definitely has its downside, right? Just because people have been married for like 20 years, for example, doesn't mean you should aspire to have a marriage like theirs. You don't know what happens behind closed doors. It's the same way with friends. We always think that people change for the better, but sometimes people do change for the worse. It's important to acknowledge where people are in life. It's important to embrace where people are in life. Not all connections are meant to last forever. Sometimes you have to walk away. Sometimes you have to say goodbye to people because people change. Sometimes your values with people don't align anymore. And if, like they say, all birds of the same feathers flock together, then you might want to be watchful of the birds you're allowing flock around you, because sometimes people don't even give you an opportunity to, show who you are or prove who you are. A lot of people judge us based on the connections we keep. Like even me, for example, there's a particular connection I sort of ended with this one girl strictly because of who her best friend is. It's like, how is that your best friend? You can't tell me that's your best friend and you guys aren't the same people. You know what I'm saying? Some might say that's harsh, but show me your best friends. I'll tell you who you are. So that's really where I'm at right now. In the same way some people showed up for me, some people also showed their true colors and exposed themselves to me. I've had to embrace that there are certain connections that I've been in denial about because I was using the same eyes in which I saw these people from like high school, for example, to judge them now that we're adults. But people aren't children anymore. People change, like I said. And when someone changes in a way that doesn't align with you or your values, for example, then yeah, you have to cut them off, and that's okay. That's okay. What do I need to accept about myself and other people in my life? I, for one, need to stop shying away from implementing strong boundaries. And even if people don't like or agree with the boundaries that I set in place, it's not for them to agree. It's for me to uphold those boundaries and then teach people how to relate with me. If it doesn't work for them, because if people try to cross the boundaries that you set so blatantly, I think that's reason enough to cut them off. Four, how do I cope with uncomfortable feelings? In the past, reacting emotionally has cost me so much more than it would if I had just simply reacted in a more logical way. How do I cope with uncomfortable feelings? Therapy, journaling, taking a deep breath, and walking away from certain situations or interactions that I know. Basically, I think one of the greatest tools as well that I've applied this year is walking away from arguments. When I feel myself really getting enraged, I've learned to walk away. And even on social media, when people try to spew hate, I've also learned to walk away. You don't always have to respond to hate comments. And when you do, it's important to remember that you should be the bigger person. You shouldn't meet people on their low level. It's not always fun being the bigger person, but in the long run, based on my life, I've learned that being the bigger person pays. It pays way more than being the smaller person. So let people be small, you be big, and do your thing. Leading to the next question. How can I better manage my reaction to my feelings? I literally just answered that by journaling, through therapy, reading books, self-care and self-help books, which teach you about boundaries, for example, or books that help you dig deep into your childhood and uncover certain behavioral traits or triggers that you may have. So I've acknowledged that there are specific triggers that take me from A to Z. And so I've learned this year to identify those triggers so that when people poke at those triggers, I recognize instantly, and my strongest power is to walk away. Walk away, calm down, return, and then have a conversation. As opposed to just like yelling, because that doesn't often resolve anything. If anything, as a Black woman, I've learned that the world never sees us as the victim, right? We're always the perpetrators in the workplace, at the grocery store. No one cares what happened to the Black woman. When they see her yelling, they assume, oh, troublemaker, right? So I've learned that in this world of being a Black woman, where people ignore our pain, where people don't necessarily see us as anything more than sexual objects, where people see us as angry, instead of asking what we're angry about, it's just, you're angry, you're loud. I've learned that one way to take my power back is by mastering the art of being a victim, like white women. I think white women should write a book on how to be victims, because that is one thing they've mastered. For example, white men get blamed for slavery and stuff, but who raised white men? White women! What ways will I take better care of myself in 2022? By ensuring that I commit to my fitness goals, and a huge part of that is by avoiding putting unrealistic pressures on myself, embracing healthier reasons for working out, not dabbling in any more like fads, but actually focusing on being the best version of myself physically, mentally, and that includes journaling daily, extra committing to my craft by doing what I have to do daily, which in my case involves watching movies, documentaries, and any other visual content daily. That is essential to do that daily. Obviously, feeding myself spiritually. I did a very lousy job with reading my Bible this year, so I struggled with completing most of my Bible devotionals this year, and I feel bad because in 2020 I was very much on it, and a huge part of that is because I thought the world was coming to an end. But that is an example of someone living in fear. The world doesn't have to be coming to an end for me to prioritize reading the word daily. So that is one way I will be taking better care of myself daily, because it's essential to read the Bible as a believer, because by hearing the word, your mind is being renewed. And by reading the word, it's hard for you to forget who you are. When the Bible tells you that you're a child of God, God has great things for you, you are blessed, you are anointed, when you're getting all these affirmations straight from the major source of life, the Bible, when you go out there into the world and people try to misidentify you, you remind them of who you are. But when you don't know who you are, you believe what people tell you. Devotionals, by ensuring I journal my thoughts daily, which will in turn help me with crafting my stories as well, because I tend to always write from a personal place. What has been a barrier to me completing my goals? Obviously procrastination, and having people around me that aren't as hungry or thirsty or passionate as me, because people love to speak doubt. So some major barriers that hindered me from completing my goals this year were the kind of company I was keeping. In the past, I would do this thing where I would engage in friendships that I knew I shouldn't engage in out of pity, or I didn't want to be viewed as a snob. But I'm perfectly fine being viewed as a snob now. It's truly one of my superpowers, I've acknowledged. Maybe that's why I fought it for so long. I am a snob, and that's okay. Because you know why? Often when people label me a snob, it's because they don't know what's going on in my life, especially my personal life. They don't like it, but they respect you for it. And then of course, when people know everything about you, when you allow just any clown know your home address, when you're not making an active choice of vetting the people that you bring into your life, then you get yourself in trouble. And the clowns tend to bite. So let them stay over there in their circus and you just be over here in your mansion. So a major part of 2022 would be about mastering the art of discipline. Mastering the art of discipline. This is not one that I struggle with, but in the past, people have been able to get in my head by consistently speaking negatively, for example, on my goals. Like if I say, oh yeah, in the next couple of years, in the next few months, I'm going to sell a script for at least $2 million. Once upon a time, here in LA, there were people that I was sort of surrounding myself with from acting school, for example, who weren't in line with me as far as my future goals. And so they saw my dreams as a threat, or perhaps my dreams make them feel inadequate. And so what did they do? They try to humble me or try to... So for me, it's not about I don't struggle with limiting beliefs. I'm Nigerian. We're born and raised to dream very big. My thing is ensuring that 2022 onwards, I don't associate with anyone who attempts to dim my light or attempts to spew evil or negative commentary on my dreams and aspirations, because to me that's witchcraft. It doesn't take much for me to label something witchcraft. If you're the kind of person that is envious of what someone else has, yeah, that's an evil spirit. If you're the kind of person that a friend is sharing a dream, it's free to dream, and you're like spewing negativity like that will never happen, witchcraft, you have to go. As far as what to practice doing more or less of, one major thing I need to stop doing is my over-reliance on my cell phone. I used to have this bad habit of waking up in the morning, and one of the first things I will do is pull out my cell phone and check Instagram. This is before praying. I also used to be on my cell phone before going to bed, like right before going to bed, which also had like a bad effect on my sleeping habits. Uphold or implement certain bedroom laws and regulations like no cell phones, no Instagram past 9 p.m. Don't go on your phone an hour or 30 minutes before sleeping so that it doesn't interfere with your sleep routine. Setting daily timetables that I ensure I stick to, like waking up at 6 a.m., ensuring that I don't leave my bedroom without making my bed. You know what I'm saying? Just implementing more laws, ensuring that I follow through on the timetables that I set for myself, my daily routines, ensuring that I discipline myself, because all of the most successful people in the world, regardless of what fields they're flourishing in, one thing they always talk about is discipline, the art of self-discipline. When you're able to abide by the laws or follow through on the rules that you set for yourself, then as far as success, nothing can really stop you. What is one boundary that I need to implement to improve my peace in 2022? I think I already responded to this question in one of the previous questions. That would be me not shying away from upholding boundaries as a way of self-care both for my mental health, for my emotions as well, and even spiritually for me to thrive. I'm fine. I'm now in that place where it's a little savage, but I've become so savage with the way I cut people off, and honestly, it's brought me so much peace in this year. It really has. Terrible idea to have something like this in your kitchen when you are a foodie like me. It's fake, but I decided to make an order of Wingstop. Guys, Wingstop always does the job.